This is the vintage V52BS in a really cool butterscotch finish. How is it? Let's find out. Hey, I'm Landon. Welcome back to my channel. Today we're doing a deep dive of the vintage V52BS. The BS standing for butterscotch, not even joking. Okay, you may have never heard of vintage. You may see the word vintage and think we're talking about a vintage guitar, like something that's, old and not new. No, vintage is a brand. This particular model is made in Vietnam. I stumbled on them looking at guitars on Amazon one day and I thought, hey, what is that brand? It looks pretty cool. It looks nice. And so yeah, I reached out to Vintage last year, and I have a full unboxing video if you want to check that out first and hear the story about it. So I did buy this at a discount, but this isn't a paid review and this is my own personal opinion. So let's get into it. This is a deep dive video, and what I do in these deep dive videos, we'll start off and just go over the guitar, talk about the specs quickly. Then we'll get into my deep dive part, which is opening the guitar and checking out the internals, and then really getting into the detailed specs. And then we'll get into some tones, play through clean tones and dirty tones through different amps and pedals. Get to hear it and check it out. And then we'll wrap up the video with a summary, my pros and cons at the end, and if I recommend the guitar. So let's get going. Obviously, clearly inspired by a Fender Telecaster, the 52 style. Take a look going down from top to bottom here. It's got like vintage style tuners. This is new to me, I've never seen this before. It's one single rail of tuners. There must be a name for that I'm not familiar with. Rather than 6 individual tuners, it's one stack that's all connected together. And yeah, I think it looks all right. Made in Vietnam, very glossy neck. It's a wider neck. We'll take a measurement of that to see how that compares to a standard Fender Tele neck. Definitely feels a little bit wider. It's not too thick. It's interesting. It's a different style for sure. Then coming down the body, you got your standard 2 single coils. These are Wilkinson single coils. You got the neck, you got the bridge, brass saddle, compensated saddles. It's all Wilkinson hardware here. You got a 3-way switch, volume and tone, output jack, and string through body, and a butterscotch finish. So there we go. That's a quick walkthrough. Let's get into the deep dive. Here we go. Let's do it. Let's weigh this. Let's weigh it. There we go. 3.606 kilograms, 7.95 pounds. I'd say that's pretty good. It's not super light. I prefer lighter, but it's also not super heavy. I think it's a solid feeling guitar. So here's the resistance. Taking the neck there, 6.61. Just trying to get the angle. Darn, lighting gets in the way. Here's neck and bridge, 3.53. And then the bridge itself, spicy 7.49. So there we go, there's the resistance. Take those numbers and use them. Here's something new, I'm taking a digital caliper because I felt the neck was different, so I'm actually measuring it. So at the top here, it's 42 millimeters. And then like a rookie, I'm trying to slide it down. Watch, you'll see what happens. I know what's gonna happen. Spoiler, it's gonna slip off. Ready? There we go, all the way down to 40. Try again. 42 at the nut, sliding it down. I was curious about the 12th fret, so again, around there it's like 52, 53, and I'm pretty sure that's a little bit wider. It felt wider in my hands for sure. And then we'll take a measurement of the neck profile. I don't know what I'm doing here. You guys can tell me, okay? I got a digital caliper. I'm gonna use it for things. What are you doing? You got the strings there. So I think I tried to stick it under the strings. There we go. I try to stick it underneath the neck, and if you can angle the light a little bit more, hey, down in front, move it, slip it, twist it a little bit. Come on, you can do it. I think it's like 20, we're looking at 22 milliliters, 22. I don't know what that means. There you go. Here's some information that came with it. We got the new bone as opposed to the old bone, quality control checklist here, which is interesting. And you'll see why a little bit later. Or maybe I already talked about it. I can't remember what I'm doing. Let's open up the guitar, take off the pick guard. Normally this is really easy. You just go, loosen the strings, take off the screws, and then you just kind of, what is going on? This is the first time this has ever happened. Never happened before. I had to take the neck off because the pick guard, something was stuck. I'm like, oh no. But this is why I like doing this part. I always find interesting things. So here we go, taking the bolts or the screws out of the neck, and then even just getting the neck off was a little bit tight. Some of the finish was like hardened. I guess when it was drying, it got stuck. You can see how it ripped off a little bit there. No big deal, but yeah, now I can get the pickguard off. We can see inside, and just taking a look at the back of the neck here. It's interesting. It's like a darker black kind of wood. I'm not really sure what it is. So I'm gonna put that aside for a second. We're gonna take a look. I really like the Wilkinson logo. It's got the guitar neck and yeah, above the Wilkinson word. Looks cool. I dig it. See the screws loose here? Not good. Screw loose in the bridge. There's a couple that were loose. Actually, I guess loose isn't the right word. They're just not fully tightened. They weren't actually wiggling or anything. Anyways, let's take a look inside here. We got the body ground. Is that okay to do that? Ground to the shielding paint? I don't know. You got your mini pots here. I didn't recognize the brand, but the wiring's kind of a mess, especially this. This is probably the worst wiring I've ever seen in a guitar. Worse than I could do myself, you know. Usually I use obsidian wire, so that's, you know, you avoid these kind of things. So I'm just tightening the screws in the bridge, sticking everything back together. Otherwise, everything looked pretty good. The actual body and everything, like the neck pickup and the bridge pickup and the bridge, they look really nice. Just wasn't impressed with the wiring, and the electronics are nothing special. In fact, they're less than anything special. See, just putting the neck back on. This is really easy. I used to think if you take the neck off, your guitar is going to be out of tune and you got to fix everything. It's not science. It's not science. It's not rocket science. If you can tell me some rocket science, I'd like to know. Ferrules, they're not even flush, and it looks like the holes weren't screwed or drilled in lined up, so another quality control issue. All right, we're going to get into the detailed specs. Here's the official information from Vintage Guitar Site. So, featuring the Wilkinson WTB bridge, this classic 3-saddle design has been around for over 50 years and still regarded as the ultimate tone machine. Staggered brass saddles offer individual string intonation, never before available in a design of this type. Still widely regarded as the tone machine. I'm reading this word for word. The base plate itself is a faithful reproduction of the original, made from steel, very important in a bridge of this style due to the tonal effect it has on the magnetic field of the pickup mounted to it. So this is a American alder body, one-piece hard maple bolt-on neck. Scale is 25.5 inch, 22 medium frets, got black dot inlays, and nut is a 42 millimeter Wilkaloid. That's interesting. Tuners are Wilkinson Deluxe WJ55S. The pickups, are Wilkinson single coil. There's two of them. They're WVTN Alnico and WVOB Alnico. The first one was for the neck, second one was for the bridge. Scratch plate is a single ply, black scratch plate, and then you got your standard single volume, single tone, and 3-way selector. So we're gonna get into some tones in a minute, but first, let's get into the weird stuff again. All right, you got to check it out. You got to see what's inside it, and you got to hear it. Just notice the skunk stripe is very dark. Not sure what kind of wood it is. It's probably not a walnut. Maybe it's a cashew. It's made of peanut. Yeah, definitely a different wood on the inlays. There you go. That was the deep dive. You got to hear it. You got to smell it and taste it over the internet. I don't even know what I'm saying anymore. Let's get into my summary, pros and cons, and then I'll let you know if I recommend the guitar. So first of all, the pros. Let's talk about it. It looks really nice. I think it looks great. It's a really nice body, nice butterscotch finish on it. Very traditional blackguard kind of style, like a 52. Obviously they're going for that with the name. Plays well. The setup is really good. Sounds good. I like the tones that I got out of it. The weight is pretty good. It's not light, but it's not super heavy. And if you've seen my videos before, I can always complain about guitars that are super heavy, like the Harley Benton TE52. Which was an anchor, a boat anchor. I don't know, if that's not an issue to you, it's pretty good. And the hardware on it, the Wilkinson bridge, the pickups are nice. Tuners seem pretty good. Nut looks like it's cut well. No sharp frets. Frets are pretty good. So that's my pros. Let's get into some cons. If you saw my unboxing video, you didn't see it in this, but it was missing either this screw or this screw. I can't remember what it was. One of the pickguard screws was missing, which is kind of embarrassing. The ferrules, if I didn't already mention it, they're not totally flush, and they're not actually carved or cut in straight. We're talking about cosmetic things at this point, right? It doesn't really affect the play or the overall quality of the guitar, but it is a quality control issue. You also saw the bridge screws were loose, at least a couple of them. I had to tighten that. So does that stuff happen when it's in shipping? I don't know. I think that's things that you can't really overlook for the price that you pay for this guitar. I know this guitar is a lot cheaper if you buy it overseas in the UK. Bring it over here to Canada or the US. I think it does cost a little bit more, so I don't know, something to mention. The electronics. Now let's talk about the electronics. I mentioned the hardware was okay. We're still going into the cons here. The electronics feel super cheap. Like the switch, I just know right away the little rod on a switch, it's not good. Tone pots are super stiff. Like this is probably the most stiff pot I've ever smoked. Turned. I don't know. And you saw the electronics inside. The wiring, probably the worst wiring I've ever seen. It just doesn't look good. It works, so we're lucky with that, but I mean, it's got the really messy wiring, is what I want to say. For the price, right? Like, I think those quality control issues, they're not really acceptable for the price. I've had a number of cheaper guitars and more expensive guitars. That's where my comparison comes from. Do I recommend it? No, it's not for me. I just think for the price, you're better off. You could look at a Squier Classic Vibe or even the Fender Player Series. You're gonna pay around the same price, and overall, those models that I've had, and I've had a number of them, they've just had better quality control. Now, that being said, maybe you'd like this. If I've mentioned many times in other videos, I've had cheap guitars that didn't have any quality control issues, and then other people did have it. So you might get one of these and it would have none of the same issues that I have. But that being said, this is my first impressions, right? This is the first time seeing vintage, so this is gonna be what sticks with me. I'm gonna remember them as not having the best quality control. That's my opinion. That's just me being honest, right? I say if you're gonna look at these, I would hope you can get one for a cheaper price. Maybe try to get one used. I just wouldn't pay the full price for this kind of guitar. And that's me being dead honest. I even have an affiliate link to get these. If that's not being honest, I don't know what is. I don't know. That being said, I'm gonna turn this over to you. Have you played any vintage guitars? I mean the brand vintage, not old guitars, right? Have you actually tried this one? Or have you tried any other models? I'd be curious, did they have quality control issues? Were you lucky and they were okay? You know what, overall, the feedback on vintage is that they're really good. This is one specimen, right? Out of many, many guitars. It's just, I'm not super impressed. And I think if you go back and watch my original unboxing video, when I saw that first screw off the pick guard, it kind of made me think for a second, like, what? Did I just get screwed? Unscrewed? Did I just get not screwed? Again, this was the vintage V52BS, and that's my take on it. Again, I'm Landon. If you did like the video, I really appreciate it if you give me a like. If you haven't subscribed to the channel yet, you know what to do if you want to. Feel like subscribing. As always, play guitar and have fun, and I'll see you in the next video. Take care. And another intro.